All right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be, and welcome to Honey Badger Radio. My name is Brian, and this is the X Space call in. So you guys can join the call if you wish. Why is it showing there's one of the listener and I can't show them? Anyway, so Allison is busy working on another video having to do with men's issues, and she is unavailable for a show today, so I am, of course, tasked with basically being her Jay Leno to her Johnny Carson and hosting a show without her, which is usually what I do with the X Spaces, which were formerly the Badger Lodge shows. So, I have to find a topic, but fortunately for you guys, I do have one. But the primary purpose of this show is for you guys to call in, join the Twitter space, or the X space, sorry, we don't call it Twitter anymore. And if you request to speak and it's sort of topical, you're not just like telling me about like, I don't know, something completely irrelevant, like you discovered some new recipe for borscht or something, then I will give you the floor and we can talk about it, whatever's on your mind, as long as it's sort of relevant. You know, if it's relevant to the topic I bring up, that's best, but it's not necessary. You can tell me whatever. I'm really kidding about the borscht thing. But anyway, there's a link to the X Space in the description of this video. You'll see it on Rumble, YouTube, and all the other places where our streams are at. And then you can use that to join the X Space. If you're following at Honey Badger Bite on X, you can just go to the main page and join the space there. I posted it on Allison's account. Well, it's the Honey Badger Radio account, but Allison runs it most of the time. So, anyway, so I thought that today what we would do is we're going to look at this Twitter page. Unfortunately, there's no way for me to share this with the people inside of the X space because X hasn't made that an option for some reason that I can like share, you know, like pages or things within the space itself. So not much I can do there, but I can at least show you guys. And if you're in the X space, you know, maybe check out the video itself. Although there is like a delay of about, I want to say 15 seconds or so between what I say here now and what people will hear in the X space. So, you know, you could just like keep it on silent so you can see what I'm talking about. Because I'm not going to be listening to anything. I'm just going to be looking at something. So today we have this this post that was going pretty viral on X, which I'm going to share with you guys, from someone named Short Squeeze. And they have this obvious AI image, but the AI image is not important. It's just there to like create, you know, attention. And the tweet reads this: breaking. The New York Times found dating for women in New York City is so brutal that some dating events are charging women $100 and men $0. And the attendance ratio is still 3-to-1 women to men. So I thought this was interesting. We can look at some of the replies here. So basically, okay, we are talking about something kind of specific. Number one, we're looking at New York City. So there's a little bit of context there. I looked into it just to confirm because, you know, Twitter or X, it rewards you for engagement. So you could like bait people into like clicking on things. And a lot of people do. Rage bait is particularly popular on X. There's a lot of like really overtly misandrous things that come across my feed. And I feel like, oh, okay, you're just trying to get a rise out of me. I'm not going to go along with it. Although I don't think they're lying about their feelings either. I think they're using their misandry to like basically get attention on the internet. But all right, so what this comes from, there's a New York Times piece, a podcast they call The Daily, and they have an episode called Is the Swipe Era Over? And it came out this month in February, not long ago, which went viral and sparked a ton of online discussion. In New York City's current dating scene, especially for straight singles in their 30s through 40s. So we're looking at people that are getting into middle age. Organizers of singles mixers, speed dating, and curated events like wine tastings or small gatherings are facing a persistent problem. Way more women sign up than men. Even when they make events free for men and charge women up to $100 in some cases, the attendance often stays skewed, like 3-to-1 women to men, or sometimes worse at smaller events. So this is actually a phenomenon that at least is being recorded in New York City. And I think that it's kind of like a problem everywhere if you're getting it in New York. Like it's not exclusive to New York, because it means that any places, especially in urban areas, big cities, where you have a lot of people and they're trying to meet, I bet that this is also an issue. Los Angeles, Seattle, Chicago, any big city, basically, Toronto, whatever it is. And it's not really helpful that most of these cities are pretty paused in terms of like their, belief systems. They tend to be way more feminist leaning. They tend to be more woke. And I think that men are just kind of like repelled by this. And I think they should be, especially if they're like hoping to date or something, or, hoping to meet someone. But there is some more to this. So organizers are saying, people who organize these events. So let's back up for a second. A lot of people do this stuff, like there's dating apps, right? And we know dating apps are like, they don't work very well. And I think that men are at least discovering that dating apps are not really a good use of their time. Like, if you think about it, if you make a profile on a dating app, you're probably, unless you find some way to stand out against like millions of men, you're probably just going to disappear into obscurity, because women, there was all, studies were done on this. There was like a thing where a guy pretended to be a woman on a dating app. I think it was on Hinge. And he basically got a friend to take pictures, like a female friend, and he created a profile, and he was getting matches like immediately, like he was getting hundreds of matches a day. And this was framed as some kind of burden on women because they had to like make a choice. But it's just kind of ridiculous, because the men who are putting in the work to make a profile on these dating apps, most of them are just going to get ignored, because women get so many matches that they just exclude like 90% of men, because there's too many choices. And so they want to narrow it down. And because they get all of this attention on the app, then they feel like they deserve this attention from men. And so it skews their perception on what it is that what's actually possible. And so women end up, maybe never making a choice because they're too afraid, or they end up, just going for like the top men, like the absolute top men. And of course, most of the time, the very top men are dating multiple women, probably because they, probably have the money to do it, and they have the attention, and they're able to do that. So, you have like the dating apps are not working, is what I'm saying. So dating apps are basically a failure. And anyone who's still on them just hasn't figured that out yet. But I think you should get off of dating apps. And I think a lot of men are wising up to it. So what's the alternative to dating apps? Well, the alternative must be then to like meet people in the real world. Go to, events where there are singles, like singles events, and mixers is what they call it, or other kinds of things like that. And they're finding now that those aren't working either. And you get like, very few men go to them and a lot of women go. And this is something that we've also talked about on the show. So it's only gotten worse, guys, for women in particular. And what's really funny about this to me is how inverted everything is. So that's why I called it the dating market inverts. Because it used to be that women were offered things like ladies' nights at clubs and bars where they could go without paying a cover charge. And then the purpose of the ladies' night was so that there would be a disproportionate number of women, because there was no fee for them to go. And men would pay the cover to be there to meet women. Now, men can't be paid to go. Like you could, and women are paying a lot more to meet men, and the men are still not showing up. So we've literally inverted women's or girls' night and made it boys' night, and boys aren't showing up anyway. So I just think it's sort of like speaks to the state of things in our dating market. All right, so let's look at a little bit more information about this phenomenon, and then we'll look at some replies in the Short Squeeze post, because there's a lot of like base takes in there. So women, on the other hand, so many guys, okay, don't bother with structured events. They prefer apps, bars, organic meetups, or aren't as motivated to pay time and effort for them. Fair enough, right? Seems like a lot of work, and you're probably not going to get much out of it. Again, and it's not just rejection. Like, it's the Me Too movement. It's women choosing the bear. It's all this misandry that's like, just out in the open, plain to see. And men are still being challenged to, like, essentially defy that and still try. And I can't blame them if they don't. Like, why? There's like open hatred against them. So anyway, women, on the other hand, are more willing to invest money and bring friends to these paid events, hoping for better quality matches in a controlled setting, away from the chaos of apps. So like I said, for women, the apps are chaos because they'll get hundreds of matches, and they either are too afraid to make a choice because they have too many options, or they would rather, like, basically, like, do it another way, like meet a man face to face, right? The pricing flip women pay, men is free is basically a desperate hack to boost male turnout and balance the ratio, but it doesn't fully work, often highlighting this imbalance. This ties into broader complaints about New York City dating, but it's not just New York. Like I said, it's dating basically in any high population urban area. I think that in rural areas, it's probably less of a problem because I think that there's just so few people, and those people tend to be more like grounded and like, well, I'm just gonna, like, date someone who lives close by, instead of people who, usually the women who post dating profiles talking about how much they love to travel and how much they like to, do all of these things that are like kind of like require a decent income. Those people tend to live in cities, and they tend to have this, like, kind of, elitist idea about what the social life is like. So they watch a lot of Kim Kardashian stuff, So anyway, this ties into broader complaints about urban or city dating. High standards. The high standards still apply. The viral 666 meme. Post-pandemic shifts, people moving out, or men opting out of the game altogether, which is a thing. A lot of men are MGTOWing it, big time right now. YouTube keeps deleting my comments no matter the comment today. That is weird, man. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what to tell you. We don't have any blocks or anything. So feel free to chat on Rumble. It's more based anyhows. All right. It's not every event or universal, but it is a real trend in the curated / organized single scene right now, especially around Valentine's Day or peak times. Some events end up with barely any men. One story mentioned organizers scrambling or even paying random guys to show up, turning it into a frustrating experience for the women who shelled out cash. So yeah, imagine you're a woman and you're like, I'm gonna meet a man at this mixer, and you had to pay $100 to go. And there's like, I think that the one that was the example from the New York Times article, I think there were like 25 women and like 5 men that ended up showing up. So it wasn't like a big gathering of a lot of people. But imagine you're one of the 25 women and there's like 5 dudes. And I wouldn't be surprised if like none of those dudes walked away with any phone numbers anyways. I wouldn't be surprised if even of the 5 men that showed up who didn't pay anything, they showed up for free. I wouldn't be surprised if none of them got a phone number anyway. Probably in part because they didn't pay to show up. Because if you show up to a thing for free and the women that are there know you're there and you didn't pay to get there, then it's going to say something about, well, to them, it's going to say something to them about, the value that you are as a man, right? It's wild, man. It's wild. So the bottom line is it flips the old ladies' night model on its head and underscores how tough the market feels for women seeking committed partners in New York City these days, but also other cities. Many online takes call it a victory for men or proof of shifting dynamics, while others see it as a sad commentary on modern romance. Well, I don't know about it being a victory, but I did see that Brett Cooper made a video about it, and I see Oz Muerte. Welcome to the chat, Oz Muerte. If you want to say anything, just request to speak and I'll give you the floor. She, let me see if I can find the video clip of the guy Okay, the Daily New York Times Apple podcast. So let me see if I can find that. She was lamenting this and saying this is not a victory and that the Red Pill Bros were celebrating it. But I don't think they were. I think they were vindicated. You know, guys like Fresh and Fit and stuff. It's not good news, and I don't think anyone would argue that it is. But it is vindicating when you've been warning about this and people have ignored you, you know? So the Daily Podcast. Okay, let me see. The Daily Podcast, New York Times. All right. The Daily Podcast, Apple Podcasts. Is the swipe era over? I found it. Okay. So we're going to look at this in a second.
This message comes from Capital One Commercial Bank.
Is there like a timeline I can jump to? Because I kind of want to jump to the part. There's no timeline in this. What? Oh, no, I'm not going to do it. It's okay. I can just play it off of Brett Cooper's video. So we'll just listen to this part.
Event the following night.
Go back a little bit more.
About dating events. Let's take a listen. This is what sparked that tweet.
I went to an event the following night, and it could not have been more different from the first event.
What was it?
Yeah, so I heard about this second event through a friend, and it was a sort of wine mixer. I think what really got me interested in this particular event was the fact that tickets for women were $100 and tickets for men were free.
Oh my God, I think my soul just left my body. Why?
Is there an echo? I'm sorry, guys. Let me see if are you guys getting an echo from this? I apologize if that's happening.
Why was it so much more for women than for men?
I mean, I think the truth is that there are a lot more women out there interested in showing up for these dating events, and it's not as easy to get men to show up.
And therein lies the issue that now the entire internet is debating. So for a little...
All right. So, yeah, so the internet's debating it, but it's not really a debate so much as this is the reality that women have created. Okay, no echo. Sounds fine. Okay. And let's look at some of the comments to affirm this. Now, you know, Brett wasn't happy about this, but I think that it just speaks to how ignorant, I don't know if it's willing ignorance or not, people are about the problem and their unwillingness to talk to people like Myron Gaines or Pearl, who they had to comment on because Pearl had some things to say. Your echo, but your camera's looking at your grade. Yeah, I can't do anything about that. I'm sorry, guys. So anyway, misandry examples, which is a really good account. If you guys are on X, there's a lot of great accounts here you should follow. Misandry example says, oddly, way back when I did some work for a matchmaker, it was the same situation. Her main client was women, and she struggled to get men to watch with them. So yeah. Allie Fields says, this is because men are retarded and don't go to school or get jobs. There are still plenty of retarded men out there if you get desperate enough. So this woman is the problem. She's like demonstrating the problem. See? And of course, she doesn't have any shame. I'm sure that she's a very beautiful lady. Let's find out here in a second. I don't want to split the tabs here. Hold on. Allie Fields. Yeah. So, and of course, she just goes after the manosphere and endlessly. The subtext of almost all manosphere discourse is that men don't have as much to offer in relationships now that we can feed ourselves, and they'd rather overthrow society and bring us back to 1840 than learn to read or learn to F or have interesting conversations. Awesome. Yeah, these are people that we can totally have a conversation with. Echo fixed itself nicely. So there was echo. Okay, I just like lowered my speaker volume a little bit. So Allie Fields basically demonstrates the reason why men are not involved getting, they're checking out. Cobra says because they all look more like this, and you have women with pussy hats and equality and LGBT flags. Probably another AI image, I'm guessing, but it's still pretty funny. Dad says, what are you guys scared of? Go up to a pretty girl and just talk to her. Load her up with compliments and flattery. They love that. Yeah, sure, Dad. Lol, dude, that's not the issue. The issue is that you are not getting what's in the pic. You're getting this. Do you live in this world? Are you fucking out of your mind? Sure, if you want a reputation as a sex pest and a creep, LOL. So Yeah, I mean, these guys understand that this is like the natural consequence of women's behavior towards men. And I mean, that's just what it is. Hello, InQcell, Osmorte. You guys can talk if you want to. I see a request here. Oh, it's InQcell. Okay. Welcome. Can you talk?
Hello.
Yes, hello. What's up?
Yeah, no, it's just calling in to comment. I guess nobody's not exactly a queue out here for that, but yeah, you're getting yet another spot of discourse around the thing that's typically schizophrenic. Just on the topic, you know, I cannot imagine going to something like this. Like in my mind, this is always going to be just a physical version of the meet gallery, of the dating app meet gallery. I'm going to be there uh to like be judged by a panel of women, right? It's not like they're going to hook up or not necessarily hook up, just give a chance to date a guy that's like above 20% body fat, right? That's not gonna happen. Like it's always going to be a disappointment because of the perception, because of the perception of what is possible, which is one of those old, sort of incel deplore, wherein it was basically over the moment camera was invented, because that showed women what's possible, like what the top percentile of men look like. And uh, ever since then, like women will not settle, like settling will get less and less, owing to developments in technology and globalization and mass communication and distance transport technology. The incentive and ability or willingness to quote unquote settle uh diminishes ever more. Any time a woman basically has the field of options expanded to her, or made aware of the field of options that is possible. So when someone like Brad Pitt exists, and a woman knows that someone like Brad Pitt exists, me walking into there without being like 15% body fat and jacked, even that probably wouldn't save me, because my face, like, my face is pretty like normie tier, like fair, like 5 out of 10, 6 out of 10 at best.
Sure.
I'm not horribly deformed or anything like that, but even then, uh, even if I were to put in like the gym workout route, which by the way I broke my arm doing that, so that's great. That's fucking fascinating. That ticket to entry, because the topic at hand is that men going for free. Men's tickets to this are free. Well, it's not fucking free, because to have any kind of chance at all, you have to put in like 2 hours, 2 years of going to a gym to get somewhere between 15 and 20% body fat, which is hardcore workout to even have a chance. And even
Sure.
then, you're most likely fucked. Right? So the entry isn't fucking free whatsoever. Right? But nobody's obviously, the discourse TM is not going to touch that one. But even then, there is this aura of like demeaning, dehumanizing, sort of. It's undignified. Like this whole meat market style of matchmaking it's just physical version of dating apps. Like, why would I go to this in the first place? The fact that
Right.
I have literally no chance in there, and 80% of men have literally no chance in there, owing to the phenomena I just described with the women. Well, yeah, you can pay men to go there. Like, fuck going free. You wouldn't get men in there if you paid them.
No, they don't. They
So,
don't get men in there, and they offer to pay them. One event tried to get men off the street to just go, and they weren't going. So I'm saying that men are reacting, they're responding accordingly to the environment as it is. So
exactly. And the discourse TM, and so that's the like material, the thing on the ground, right? That's the reality. are you going to fix any of this? Well, the question is, what are you fixing? Are you like, what are you hoping to achieve with this? Well, like, is there a profit incentive? Like, what does this venue? How does this venue come about? Is this like a sort of civic, city ran engagement that sort of tries to do like a public good type of service, or is it like a private profit seeking enterprise, or what's going on here? I don't know. But
These are not city funded things. These are private endeavors by people who I guess like to organize, event organizer types, and they were hoping to probably like sell something like at whatever the bar or whatever venue they were at. But yeah, I mean, it's sort of I guess the relevant part of it is that what we're talking about is the shift itself. And the question is, first of all, I don't think it's good news per se, but I think some people are seeing like the way that some of the red pill guys are reacting to this. It's as though they're celebrating it, but they're not. This is a problem that has come out of, I think, the sexual revolution, and we're just like getting the downstream effects of that. So
yeah, the shift. Like, okay, there's like less men. I don't think there was too many men in the first place.
no, it
But
wasn't like. Well, the thing is, the venues were made with women in mind, not with men in mind.
yeah,
These
exactly.
events,
Like,
right?
if I hear like wine tasting, like, okay, wine tasting, like what kind of like, that's not exactly a male attractive sort of enterprise that you're trying to. So there's a question of okay, in this particular example, okay, is this actually trying to be something like some kind of matchmaking function, or if it's really just a kind of like wine tasting society shindig thing, and they just want to have some men in there, like maybe even the dating or hooking up part isn't even remotely the point. The point is just to have a somewhat balanced, society in there. Maybe that's the whole point of this particular event. But uh, the specific like institute, what you call it, the events, specifically speed dating events, like explicitly created for the purpose of trying to help people match
Mm-hmm.
up, or trying to get people together. Uh, when you're talking about, okay, they may talk about shift in the sense of, okay, that there's less men in there. What's the what's the ultimate outcome? Like, does that mean that more men? Does that more relationships are created? No, it doesn't matter if it's 10-1 woman or 10-1 men. The women will still proportionally no, you're not going to get the Brad Pitt in there. Okay, you're not going to get the 5%. Like, what the fuck is going to a 5% Chad going to go to a speed dating? Like, well, he wouldn't be caught dead there. Like, what's his incentive to go there? He can go to whatever club and pick up a
He
dozen
doesn't have to
chicks
go
in
anywhere.
a night.
Yeah.
Like, so the guy that would be picked, that would have a reasonable chance, is never going to go there. So when they say shift, maybe it's like some arbitrary shift in proportion, in gender proportion, but when specifically talking about dating events, the relevant outcomes, i.e., getting people together, stayed exactly the same, which is 0. There was no shift there, I guarantee you. So that's the reality. And when the discourse, the schizophrenic discourse, which increasingly I'm it's like people are just talking to like hyper isolated, like creating hyper real bubbles in their heads with cardboard cutouts of people, and that's the discourse. Like, influencers TM talking to cardboard cutouts they put up, and it's like, oh, the manosphere is charging over the hills, and it's like a fucking paper army or something. It's like a paper theater props.
Mm-hmm.
It's bizarre. It's schizophrenic. Like, these people, it's like mental illness inducing. The discourse TM part about it. around this. And it's like, and here's your token for it, being sad and stuff, because the manosphere that's in there in her head was mean or something. It's like you people are completely schizophrenic. Like there's no discourse. There's just your mental illness.
Mm-hmm.
You know, content creation for the sake of content creation. Ultimately, that's the sort of like the base driver. Okay, I've nothing to talk about. Let's just create this little fucking Potemkin village and play house in it, and we call it content, and comment, like, subscribe. Okay, great, fine. But the downside of this is that it just creates these reality bubbles, and you jump between them as you're patronizing the different influencers, and the reality doesn't even enter the equation at any point. It's just, cortisol spiking exercises all day, every day. And okay, nothing was achieved. Like, that is not even to say that, okay, if you had the correct perception, if you had the correct talking points, if you use the free marketplace of ideas to arrive at the truth or something, nothing would be resolved there anyway, because the structural forces are completely, like, you cannot make dent in them. They are so arrayed so heavily towards this developing and deepening these dysfunctions, that even if you've had all the right answers and all the right questions, you still would be powerless, and it will be only more depressing to you ultimately. You will just be the Cassandra, being, just shouting into the void. But like the Brett Cooper example, which is that like the void that got fired from Ben Shapiro because she's getting too base, guys. We cannot contain the base void, guys.
I don't know if she got fired. I think she. Well, no, I think she grew out of that like Zoomer college girl persona that she was playing, and I don't think that there was like a fallout or anything like that. I think that she just, like, the Daily Wire had a brand, and it was like, 20-something college girl in her bedroom with, like, doing videos about social media. And then Brett Cooper got married and got pregnant and basically grew out of it. And they were like, well, this isn't our brand anymore. But yes, that's the girl. And she still kind of basically just, I don't really watch her much because I don't know, the content's not really for me. But when I was looking into this New York Times podcast thing that was going viral, I was just looking to see, like, what, get information about it. And one of the things I discovered was that she made a video about it. So I watched her video about it because she does have 1.7 million subscribers. And I figured she's reaching people, and I wanted to get her take. And there's nothing of substance there.
It's retarded void babble, is it?
Huh?
Is it retarded void? You didn't. I interrupted you before you played the rest of the video. But I don't know what she actually says about it. I'm just guessing it's some couch feigning exercise once again. Well,
I mean, she's not like. No, she actually, the funny thing is this is where it's getting to now when it comes to, like, the sort of, and when I say the red pill stuff, I'm just talking about anyone who really understands the nature of women. So I'm not specifically talking about, MGTOWs or MRAs, but just like anyone who understands what's going on with women today, with modern women in particular. And I think that where Brett Cooper was landing, because I didn't finish the video, but I got close to the end of it. I didn't watch it on this stream. I was listening to it before I was getting the show set up. And I think what I'm noticing, and this isn't just happening with her, it's happening with a lot of commentators that they're basically being forced to confront this reality, the reality that is modern women right now. And they're not doing well. Like, they're not doing well because they either land on the, well, you just got to suck it up and try harder, guys, bandwagon, which no one is going for. Like, that's basically like a done deal. Or they're trying to find the nuance, but they're not really being like upfront with it. Or in Brett Cooper's case, she actually says, she concedes basically every single red pill talking point. She says, yeah, there's some truth to that. And then she goes, but, and, and then goes into this, but, it's a generalization, but, whatever. Like, she's not able to just confront this reality. But I will give her credit for at least not pretending like that doesn't exist. And that's something, because I saw another video. I get so angry about this stuff. But do you know who Scott Galloway is, InQcell?
Is that? I'm probably confusing him with the British.
Yeah, he's not British.
That's George Galloway, isn't it?
Oh, I don't know who George Galloway. I've heard the name, but no.
I had no idea who Scott Galloway is.
Okay, well, Scott Galloway is like this kind of like center left guy who talks about men and masculinity a lot, but he's basically a male feminist light kind of guy that thinks that there's a way for women to still have their cake and eat it too, and men to get back on the plantation but not feel as bad about it. So he doesn't actually want to solve any problems. He just wants to to alter the perceptions with his words, and it really pisses me off because he obviously knows the problems. Like he lists all of the data, about suicide, about loneliness, about despair, about all of this other stuff, but then he throws it at things that are not women, everything but that. It's like, oh, it's the economy, it's the way the government's running us right now, it's because he's got TDS, it's whatever, it's anything else except, because look, in any kind of world, if we were living in a third world, there are people that could form families and survive, in that condition. So it's got nothing to do with the way our country's run. People in the third world right now are married with kids. They're getting it done. Yeah, they don't have all of our comforts and all of our, let's say all of our, I don't know what you call it, but just they don't live the way we do, but they live, right? They manage it. So Scott Galloway is an example of somebody who just won't face reality, and he just wants to just put men back on the plantation. At least Brett Cooper so far has acknowledged this reality, and she's said, I can't deny this is happening. So she just won't get to the place where she's willing to concede that the red pill is right about women. But it doesn't matter if she concedes or not. I know it's just happening. But I do think that it's something that matters, at least in terms of getting the broader population to look at this and accept this as reality. And I think that the fact that this went really viral, I don't know how many views this post got. Yeah, 13.1 million views. So it's got traction. People know it's happening. And I think they're talking about it. Even if it is a small example, I think there was like I said, at this one meet, there was about 20 people, and 5 of them were men and 15 were women. But it is indicative of a broader pattern that's been happening everywhere, but mostly in high population cities, not necessarily in rural areas and stuff. So, Gabriel says George Galloway is a Scottish scumbag politician. Oh, okay. Yeah, I was talking about Scott Galloway. I wouldn't call him a scumbag, but I just think he kind of makes me mad because he knows what's wrong and he doesn't want to. It's just when people are in denial about eating crow. That's what upsets me, because I see it a lot. Okay, so let's look at some of the other replies. I got about 20 minutes and then I got to end the show. So if anybody else wants to say anything, go ahead and request to speak. Thank you, InQcell, for your thoughts. All right. So Humble Student says, there isn't enough money in the world to get me to listen to some retarded liberal girl from New York talk for an hour. She could be the most beautiful woman to ever live, and the second she opened her mouth, she might as well have been Big Mike Obama. Let's see what else some people are saying. A lot of people are hung up on the AI image. It's guys, that's not really the point. Just talk about the conversation. Talk about the topic. Let me see. Young men are afraid to talk to women. Yes, women chose the bear. Somebody put a meme. It's like essentially a 1 minute long video of a dragon burning a group of people, and the dragon is feminism and the people are civilization. Angela Belcamino says, I'm in New York City 9 and I went once. All the men were under 6 feet, made less than 6 figures, and rented with roommates. I do not recommend. Well, there you go. You are the
That's
problem.
exactly what I said. That's
Yeah,
exactly
I
what
know.
said. Like, what the fuck do you expect to meet there? Do you expect to meet there like Brad Pitt clones?
This woman is a podcaster, I think, so she probably does. Like, I think if you're like a content creator, bold seat podcast, so she probably already has like a really inflated sense of self.
It's not even a fucking woman, isn't it?
What?
That's not even a woman. This is New York City 9. Jesus Christ. Yeah.
Well, she lives in Orlando, so, or at least that's what it says here. Maybe I'll click. Maybe it's in India or something. Nope. Okay. Sometimes you got to click on the thing to find out where they're actually at. So, okay. Market pricing reveals, this is a Citadel app. Market pricing reveals gendered demand. This is the real world equivalent.
An AI. That's an AI post, by the way.
Oh, the Citadel app is an AI?
Almost entirely, yes.
Okay.
In finance interest circles on Twitter, it's completely flooded by like AI bots, like replying, just restating the original post. And the shilling exercise is the name of the account or something like that, right? It's completely like, it's horrible.
Jeff Goodsell says, who's got an MBA, I guess, says, surely it's not because women are narcissists now. Sixes at best, looking for a man who resembles Chris Hemsworth with a net worth of $1 million. Yeah. Yes. Are people mad he got 12 replies? This is not even what happened, though. Shut up. That's red pill content. Go outside and touch some grass. No, he's not wrong. See, people don't want to. They want to deny this. What?
Oh, you did a red pill. I'm cast a spell on you.
Yeah. Yeah. Rich Satema says the men they're looking for aren't interested in women like them anymore. Remember, the demographic paying $100 to get into these events just elected Mamdani. Yes, they did, in New York City. Let's see. Ben Schiffman says everyone's dunking on the AI art, but this $100 thing was actually in the New York Times on the daily, and it was not the weirdest part of the story. The weirdest part was the singles events where people literally wrestle strangers romantically. Oh, that's so desperate. God. Imagine being 5 dudes.
Sounds like a liability waiting to be exercised.
Yeah, no. I would absolutely not do that. Absolutely not. Let's see. Mike says they did it to themselves. Dating apps destroyed dating. Every girl thinks she deserves a 6'3" good-looking dude who makes $300K. Men have just given up. Yep. Murray Hill guy says any female who attended this event was below a 5 out of 10 guaranteed. Probably. That's another thing too.
The difference is that the sub 5 woman would still have a chance.
Yes, she would. There would definitely be a sub 3 woman would have a chance. But the problem is though, is that same sub 5 woman would think she deserves something like that is absolutely out of her range, like way out of her league. And that's the problem. Zeranx gave us a Rumble rant. Thank you, Zeranx, for $5. And he says, this has been going on for at least the last 5 years. China, South Korea, Japan, US, etc. Plenty of videos from women talking about lack of men. They don't care to understand why it is the way it is. But there isn't a lack of men. They're everywhere. But most of them are invisible to these women. So
okay, there is a theory, or not really a theory, but talking point that feminists come out with regarding this. When it comes up fairly often that, in the past, women were dependent on men. That the implication being that the lack of technology and the lack of moral sophistication in it, that in times where liberal rights revolution hasn't happened yet, right? So that's what I mean with moral sophistication. Like in those times, men's value was effectively subsidized, and women were forced to sort of pair bond with men. And now, in the enlightened sunny uplands, we find ourselves in, with all the rights and all the ACs and everything else, that this now we now can see a true like free market in terms of without subsidies, without subsidizing male value, just men standing presenting their value, their true value on their own, without interference from like outside, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the net effect, of course, is that women don't want to pair bond. So maybe it's ironic, because it's like from the feminist perspective, it's like this weird adherence to almost anarcho-capitalism that is completely misapplied to like marketization of social relations, which doesn't belong there at all. But nevertheless, they somehow find themselves on the side of like Austrian school economics,
Mm-hmm.
ironically, feminism being ideologically where it is. And ultimately, it seems that, however, that men and women and their pair bonding capabilities and incentives and whatever else evolved around this quote unquote subsidy, which is really just asymmetric sexual. It's basically just sexual dimorphism, right? Men
Yeah.
have the utility and stuff like that. And when you socialize this utility, when you somehow take this utility away, which is presently mostly just done by socializing it away to the state, yeah, then sort of like men lose their side of the equation. They quote unquote lose the subsidy, but what it is, they just lose their their ability to project value, right? And it will end up having to be like, if there is any way to fix this at all, it is going to involve like having women be materially dependent on men, which means like straight up banning women from working. It's going to have to come to that.
Mm-hmm.
Because you cannot. Maybe you have. Maybe the modern liberal society had unlocked the final technology in the moral tech tree with civil rights and everything, and we now get to enjoy the fruits of that. The evolution didn't sort of didn't catch up to that, right? Evolution didn't somehow turn us into, since 1965, evolution hasn't turned us into unisex sort of goobacks from South Park. So the solution is radical. The solution is reversal of all that. But again, in a democratic system as it stands now, there's exactly zero chance of that. That it's structurally impossible to enact anything like that. Like a sort of like banning women from working, like intentionally as a matter of policy, establishing material dependence of women as a class on men as a class. That's not going to happen in democracy. Structural impossibility. So yeah, that's just my shtick.
Mm-hmm. Well, Allison just sent me a message because she doesn't want to come on the show herself, but she wants to tell me what to say. Where she says women used to bring dowry to a relationship, and they also provided materially as well. Yeah, I mean, they used to, basically there were things expected of them that we just don't expect of them anymore, and I think that's kind of killing them too, because it takes away their own. They have no purpose. That's why they just see being free as an end of in and of itself, and it's not really doing them any favors.
And it's driving them insane.
It's driving them insane. Yes. Yes, they're getting medicated and everything because they're just not they're not ready for this much liberty.
But even beyond that, like they won't see, even if they weren't like completely pathological, even without the medication, and all medication on SSRI, they're like, it's like,
no, the SSRIs are a symptom.
It's like a German Wehrmacht warrior in 1940 on Pervitin attacking France. Like it's completely you cannot deal with it with this creature rationally at that point,
Mhm.
right? Well, the moment it gets on SSRIs and the entire battery, Xanax and Zoloft and all these this battery of pharmacological schedules. Even then, even when women weren't insane, they wouldn't. I don't think they would find men attractive if they weren't like the necessity of them, because it seems to be the case that attraction, um, at least in some form, from the women's side, develops with familiarity. Meaning, if women were just forced to, not in a sort of arranged marriage situation, or like forced marriage, not in maybe not exact, maybe not entirely arranged, but in a situation where the woman is forced to check up with a man and sort of be in a presence of man, and that the attraction then develops, right? But maybe if she isn't forced, she will maybe from that it is feasible or possible that a normal healthy relationships that last decades and forms a family and is success by all measures that comes from that, right? But it would have been an outcome of the initial forcing of the issue of like press ganging the woman into it, right? That the outcome is ultimately positive by all metrics, but the means are forceful, let's just say, and that the outcome, the positive outcome, wouldn't have materialized if the woman was just quote unquote free, right, and was free to choose, free to keep waiting until she's 40 for fucking Brad Pitt to appear somewhere, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Um. So another guy's post said alcohol sales have dropped, weed sales have dropped. He's got like a global condom market graph here. Condom sales have increased. Rich men are protecting themselves from many women. Makes sense, I guess. Dr. Nuanchu, some African guy's name, I don't know, says women shelling out $100 to get in the door while men walk in free, and it's still with 3 women for every man. That's not brutal dating. That's the market showing its cards. Desirable men in New York City are the scarcest resource. Apps train top-tier guys to expect abundance with zero effort. Average guys, many don't bother showing up. Women burned out on swipes, ghosting, and low-effort dates. So they're paying premium for a controlled environment. Maybe. I mean, but I was trying to find some of the, like, I know Pearl said something about this, and the Fresh and Fit guy said something about this. Let me see what Allison says. Lippy, right now I'm debugging fucking Python scripts. Let's just get rid of feminism, see what happens. That's what Allison said. Well, I think this will do it, because like women, they're like 45% of women are going to be childless and alone in probably in about, like, I don't know, 10 years. They're paying premiums to be ignored. Well, men aren't showing up. Anyway, so let me see if I can find Fresh and Fit's reaction to this and read it for you guys. Or I mean, Brett read it, so maybe I can just find it in her video. That's like her video is just reading people's comments and then giving her takes. So what's this one say? Let me see. Just a moment. Chrissy, I think this is the result of all the men hatred that's been spewed over the last few years, to be honest. I think it's important to hold men accountable and vice versa, but hating men became a trend, which is why I think good men don't feel comfortable approaching women the way they used to. Sure, I guess. Myron Gaines, here it is. He says, I called this 6 years ago. The red pill explosion woke millions of men up to modern women's game. For a decade, average guys got ignored, ghosted, and treated like options. Now they're done. They'd rather grind video games, stack cash, hit the gym, or just live free than blow the thousands chasing entitled, unappreciative women in loud bars or on apps. Men are fed up with the disrespect, the hypergamy, and the attitude. This MGTOW/red pill trend isn't slowing down, it's accelerating. Year after year, more men will opt out. Women ignored the warning signs. Now they're living with the consequences. I talk about this extensively in my second book, Why Women Deserve Even Less, which is the sequel to his book, Why Women Deserve Less, which is a sequel to my first book, Why Women Deserve Less. Link below. He's obviously using it to sell a book, but I mean, he's right though. So, when did we stop
The
holding
thing
men
is,
accountable? It's a stupid comment, Allison. Why are you? Never mind. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
yeah, there's a right. The implication in here, I'm familiar with
Gains.
Mr. Gaines' sort of content. It's not his actual name. His name is like some Arab thing because he's from Saudi Arabia or something.
Sudan. He's from Sudan. But
Yeah. The thing is, the woman might not care. Like the implication in that post, and the implication in his in his content often is that, oh, the woman will come to regret this at some point. Maybe they don't. What if they don't? What if they can just coast in the morally evolved sunny uplands of feminism where they are single at 40 and just drink wine and have cats and are basically the society's preferred consumer class, and everything is provided for them, and they are the first class citizen.
I don't
And
think
they
that
don't
that's
care.
sustainable though. I don't think I don't think that. I think a lot of them are not going to be happy with that. They're going to say that they're happy, but it's cope. They're already unhappy. They're miserable.
Well, yeah, everybody copes. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And some cope better than others. And it might be, and I suspect this will be true, that women will be fine ultimately with being single when they will try to go through the rigmarole. They will try to go through the speed dating events. And after enough experience they will of course have their 20s whole face experience some of the time. When it comes to settle down, it will be like Norwooded betas, right? Somebody like me that has the typical Slavic Norwood, and it's like, okay, no thanks, no thanks, I'm fine. And when they realize that basically dating or marrying an idyllic relationship with Brad Pitt is not on the table, then we'll just say, okay, the cats, the wine, and Prozac is good enough, right? So women's dissatisfaction may not materialize, and to the extent that it will not be any kind of sufficient catalyst for structural change or change of any kind.
Well, then it's a self-correcting phenomenon because the men and women who are getting together are going to have kids. And so like that's going to like basically the people who endure, and they're probably going to be conservative, are the ones that are going to carry it on, and the ones that don't, that live in the sort of liberal urban monoculture, they will probably just die off, like with no children and no legacy.
The problem with conceiving, personally, the issue will be forced by the economic realities and the production realities that Alison talks about all the time, which that if the production and productivity and the incentive for the only productive class is going to disappear, then something is going to break eventually. Like you can't derivative yourself, like creating financial derivative products out of increasingly shrinking the actual production class to the point where one guy making widgets the last man on the planet making widgets in a factory holds the entire economy on his shoulders, and all the trillions floating in the economy is ultimately a derivative of the one widget he's making per day or something, right?
Yeah.
That situation is like going to collapse eventually, somewhere, somehow. But it slipped my mind what I wanted to say. But you're right. Conceiving of this of a sort of like Darwinian selection pressure event, wherein the mentally illiberal woman will just fade into fade into dust eventually, and conservative and sane people will continue to procreate, even if they will manage to do that on insufficient numbers that doesn't break the spine of the economy, which I don't think will happen. It is going to suck. It is going to suck for the equivalent proportion of men, because for every childless Catwoman that decides it's fine being, society's preferred consumer, first-class citizen on Prozac and Vine and Cats, for every one of those, there is an equivalent incel that's, rotting somewhere. So this Darwinian selection pressure event is going to create an incredible amount of misery. And that's just my point. It's not going to be as childhood's end, like fading into nothingness, fading into going gently into the night. Good night, right? It's going to be miserable for a lot of people.
Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of suffering. Except for the people who are able to essentially exist outside of that system that is depending on men's productivity, essentially. But yeah, it is gonna suck, and I don't know if there's any other way for people to snap out of it. So, but look, I gotta end the show here because we're at the hour, and I gotta go pick up the wife. So, thank you, InQCell, for your commentary. Appreciate it. And thank you guys. I want to know what you guys think about this. Well, it is kind of, it's dire. We're in a dire situation, and everyone's still, like I said, dancing around the reality, and they don't want to face it. And we'll just keep telling people, warning them about it. So see what happens, I guess. But I'll be here for that. And thank you guys for coming on the show and humoring this. If you guys like this video, please hit like, subscribe if you're not already subscribed, hit the bell for notifications, leave us a comment. Let us know what you guys think about what we discussed on the show today, and share the video because sharing is caring. Thank you guys so much for coming on this episode of the X Space, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
Men's right activists are machines, dude. Okay? They are literal machines. They are talking point machines. They are impossible to fucking deal with, especially if you have a couple dudes who have good memory on top of that too. Holy shit, you're fucked.